A man without discipline isn't a free man. He is just a city waiting to be overrun. A lot of people like to say freedom is, oh, I can go and do whatever I want. But no, that's just being ruled by temptation, craving, distraction. And people don't seem to understand that. What real freedom isn't about doing whatever you feel. Real freedom is having the strength to do what you know you need to do despite how you feel. And you do what's right even when your feelings are pulling you elsewhere. You realize how controlled you actually are when you try and change. A quote I once heard is that freedom doesn't feel like a sin until you try and get out of it. That works with anything. Once you try and stop doing what you think is freedom, you're going to realize how controlled you actually were by it. And a huge misconception is people think that if they have a strict routine or a discipline when they work out, or they have a strict diet and they have to follow something specific, they might think, oh, they don't have the freedom to eat whatever they want. They don't have the freedom to go and do whatever they want. Like, oh, they might get hurt here, so they're not going to work out, or they're not going to lift something because of that. But there needs to be a reframing. Freedom is when you're able to choose what you know you need to do despite how you feel. The people that say, oh, man, you're not having any freedom, like, you don't know, like, why are you eating that? Like, go ahead, eat whatever you want, like, eat fries, like, I get to enjoy this life, I'm free, and all these things. But when you go and tell them, hey, don't eat the fries, don't eat the hamburger, don't eat out, make your own food, they're gonna be like, oh, wait, that's actually super hard, I can't do that. That without the discipline, you remove the protection, and so your mind gets scattered, your body weakens, your routine collapses, your emotion takes over, and so your purpose becomes inconsistent. And what you need to realize is that discipline isn't a cage, it's a guardrail. Every valuable thing needs boundaries. Let's take relationships into an example. If you're in a relationship with someone, and let's say, it's a new relationship, right? You don't want them knowing everything about you, don't want them doing everything with you. Maybe you might do, but those are your boundaries. You need to set boundaries with the relationship, otherwise it's going to get overrun or things are going to go bad. What keeps something together are boundaries. Now, let's look at Proverbs 25:28. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Let's think about ancient walls for kingdoms, right? If a wall is broken down and someone comes through it, right, they're taking over whatever it is that you have, right? The purpose of destroying the walls of someone else's kingdom is to take it over, to take rule over it, because you want it. You want the land, you want whatever they have. Our walls, for this analogy, is discipline. It's your self-control. If someone's easily able to break through your walls, then you don't have self-control. And so that's your walls, is your structure. That's your boundaries. So that would be things like routines, standards, consistency, obedience. The stronger your walls are, the harder it is for destructive things to enter your life. If you don't have any walls, or you have super weak walls, anything can enter your life. Temptation, distraction. Without the discipline, without the self-control, anything will enter your kingdom. And if you let those things enter your kingdom, okay, maybe the first one might not be too bad, right? You're letting one thing enter your kingdom, like, okay, it's not too bad. But slowly, weak walls allow distraction, addiction, laziness, lust, comfort, fear, inconsistency, and so much more. But what it does is it slowly takes territory. And if you get your territory overcome by one of those things, you're gone, you're lost, right? So when you let lust overtake your kingdom, perchance because you don't have the self-control of the walls built to stop it, then that's what's going to happen. And so that's why the gym is so important. It doesn't just build muscle, but it builds those restraints. It builds the walls that you need by building consistency. You have to go to the gym. If you can go to the gym every day, you can do something else every day. You could pray every day. You could read your Bible every day. It also builds endurance. Even when you don't want to do something, you're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep going. And it's going to build delayed gratification. You're no longer going to need the instant gratification, because going to the gym, if you've never gone to the gym before and you go for the first time, you're going to it's going to be useless. It's going to be the worst thing you've ever done, because the next day you're going to be sore. You're going to be like, why did I ever do this? But that's what builds the delayed gratification. It also builds suffering voluntarily, right? You are voluntarily going to the gym to push your hardest to try and do something that you wouldn't normally do, and that hurts. That hurts. But being able to do that, then going into something else that takes suffering, you can do it easily, right? And you wouldn't be too against doing something that's hard for your benefit because you do it already every day. So every workout is just like reinforcing the wall. It's reinforcing the self-control, reinforcing the discipline, and it's going to keep things from coming in and taking territory over. And in this day and age, there's modern culture, right? Modern culture is designed to weaken your walls consistently. Sorry. So, the modern culture with notifications, endless entertainment. You can watch free movies. We have Netflix with the most amount of movies. You have TikTok, constant stimulation over and over and over, and it's instant gratification. It feels good. You watch a good movie, it's happy. Woo, you're happier than you've ever been, right? But this is where you need to think about what's entering your life through your broken walls. If you don't have the self-control, right? What do you think is coming in that you wouldn't normally let come in, right? If you had that discipline, if you had that self-control, because if you think about it from a, not necessarily a mind thing, but an actual thing. If you had self-control, someone handed you self-control, would you still be doing all those bad habits? Would you still not go to the gym? If someone handed you discipline, you would be the greatest person ever. You would have the best grades, say you're in school. You would be the top of your job if you were there, because you have discipline. You could keep going. You wouldn't stop. But it works the same way if it's not even a physical thing. Mentally, you build your discipline too. So, what is it that you're letting in? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And then a weak wall, it doesn't just let things in, right? So, lust, for an example, you don't just participate in lust once. Once it's in, it starts to take over, and it starts to take territory, and then you start to do it more and more, and you want to keep going, and then it's already too late, right? So what this is basically saying is repeated exposure eventually gains control. At first, it's going to be small compromises, right? One lazy day, one missed workout, 1 hour scrolling, one exercise, one impulsive decision, right? Something as small as that. It's going to keep repeating and repeating. And those compromises slowly become patterns. Patterns become habits. Habits become identity. Everything that repeatedly enters your life shapes it. And if distraction constantly enters, then your focus is going to weaken. If comfort constantly enters, your resilience weakens. If negativity constantly enters, your mindset weakens. If lust constantly enters, your discipline weakens. And so your walls determine what gets influence over you. And eventually, what influences you repeatedly begins ruling you. What you actually allow into your body, what you allow into your heart, your mind, your actions. If you have no walls, anything can come in. Anything can take over. Anything can take control. Yes, God is supposed to be in our hearts and our minds and interactions. But if there's no walls to stop other things from coming into our hearts, our mind, interactions, then God's not going to be the only one there. And God needs to be the only one there. So you need to build up those walls and selectively choose what you allow to enter. And the problem is that feelings constantly change. If your life is built on feelings, then your direction constantly changes too, which creates instability. And modern culture confuses comfort with peace. But comfort and peace aren't the same thing. What comfort is where you avoid resistance, you avoid struggle, you avoid pressure, you stay passive. You really just want to be where you are. You don't really want to change anything. You don't want to do anything. You kind of want to just stay nice and relaxed, and you're comfortable, right? You're not going out of your way to do anything. But what peace actually is comes from alignment. It comes from order. It comes from self-control, from knowing you are living intentionally. When you know you're doing everything right, when you know that God is the only one that's on, like in your mind, in your heart, and you have that alignment, then you're going to be living with peace. But if you're constantly just living in comfort, you're not actually at peace with yourself. That's where people usually feel anxious, guilty, scattered, or unfilled. And a disciplined person needs to experience discomfort daily, but internally they'll feel more grounded. And we need to understand this, that our brain is wired to want immediate gratification, immediate pleasure. And it doesn't want high resistance, and it doesn't want to work for discipline. It wants, dopamine. It wants easy dopamine, right? Why would you want to work harder for dopamine, right? If you could just have it easy. So that's how our brain is wired. And so that's why discipline feels so unnatural at first. But once you start getting into it, you start rewiring your brain, and that's where you renew your mind. People that know the Bible, they know what I mean by that. And something that people forget a lot of the times is that the enemy doesn't just come through massive attacks. It's not just a massive downfall or something terrible happen. That's not just the devil. That's not just the enemy. The enemy comes through distractions, right? If you are constantly distracted, then that's going to fragment your mind. It's going to fragment your actions because you constantly have something else to do, right? For an example, people that aren't blessed enough to be in a luxurious lifestyle, they are constantly distracted, whether that's helping out their parents or having to get a job because they can't afford something, or not knowing whether or not they're going to eat the next day. That is a constant distraction in your mind that is stopping you from your actual purpose. And so attention, whatever has your attention, right? If your attention is towards, am I going to eat tomorrow? Or it's towards something else, then that determines your direction. Whatever constantly holds your attention eventually shapes you. So that's your thoughts, your desires, your habits, your focus, and of course, your identity. So if your attention is constantly consumed by entertainment, notifications, comparison, scrolling, stimulation, then your mind loses the depth of where it's going. You become reactive rather than intentional. And if you're always reactive, then you're going based off of feelings. You're going based off of distractions. What's happening right now around me that's going to make me do what I want to do? No. What needs to happen is need to be intentional, needs to be internal. What are you going to do? And you need to intentionally go towards your purpose. See what's weaving you out, what's distracting you from your purpose, and making sure to take that out. And so something that you could probably relate to is, and I know one of my friends back home can too, have you ever felt discomfort from just sitting in silence or just sitting with your own mind? It just feels uncomfortable. You're just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it's just, I don't want to sit there with my own mind, with my own self. But that's because you're constantly consuming stimulation. And that slowly disconnects you from stillness, and it disconnects you from intentional thought. If you're constantly getting stimulation, then when you finally sit down in stillness, you try and sit down in prayer, you're going to want more stimulation from that. We always get stimulation from video games, from TikTok, from music, from people talking to us socially, right? All those things are going to take your attention, and it's going to stimulate you more than if you're just sitting by yourself. Our brains constantly adapt, right? So if your brain is adapting to constant stimulation, then it's going to lower your attention span. It's going to lower your patience, and your focus tolerance is going to lower as well. But then eventually, prayer feels boring. Reading feels difficult. Long-term goals feel exhausting. Silence feels uncomfortable, right? Because your brain becomes addicted to novelty and to stimulation. That's why people can spend 4 hours scrolling, but when they need to sit down in a prayer, they can't do it. It takes too long. Or if they need 10 minutes to read, 10 minutes to journal, 10 minutes to read the Bible, people can't do that because it's not enough stimulation. Yeah, you can scroll for 4 hours. You have time to scroll for 4 hours, but not read for 10 minutes. And now you're just thinking, I do have time for these things, but I'm too busy doing something that's not worth my time, but that's because that's giving you more stimulation than something else you're doing. And the reason that you want to do that naturally is because that's how your brain is wired. Rewire your brain, renew your mind. And so now that we understand this, right, you need to identify the problem. A lot of people, for an example, would say, oh, I have a problem with dieting, like I can't eat well. No, most of the time the problem isn't dieting. It's, let's say for an example, you ate at a fast food place because you didn't have time to make food. So now your problem isn't just eating bad. Your problem is prioritization. Your problem is timing. Your problem is meal prepping in the beginning of the week and then being able to have those meals so you don't have to make them later. That's your problem. It's not dieting. It's not being able to control yourself. It's that you have other things misaligned. And so that's why fitness is such a good way to expose these truths, because you'll find out that your issue is through planning. Like, oh, I went to the gym, but it wasn't a good workout. I didn't even know what I was doing. So now your issue is planning. And that thing easily goes over into other areas of life. If you can't plan a workout, do you really think that you're planning for your day, or you're planning for your what you're gonna do for work, or what you're gonna study? You think you're planning for that's gonna be good if you can even plan for what you're gonna work out, for what your lift's gonna be? Exactly. Go to the gym. Realize where your problem actually is. Is it schedule, prioritization, timing, consistency, discipline, self-control, actually not being able to eat food that you need to eat, overstimulation, right? A poor sleep schedule. You'll figure out all these things by going to the gym. If you don't go to the gym, you are selling yourself short. You are trying to stay away from finding your purpose and finding out what you actually need to be doing. Right? By not going to the gym, that's going to show that you don't know what's going on. Like physically fit. That tells people, hey, he has self-control. She has self-control. She has discipline. Oh my goodness. Like, what is going on with them? You know that their brain is wired well because you could tell that their body is wired well. And that just applies to everything in life.